Stats has been improving. He's been getting better and better. And in this very tournament, in this very qualifier, Stats took down Nightmare 2-0. And Nightmare has been looking pretty damn good against Classic recently. So I don't know how Stats did it, but I am ready. I'm ready to bear witness to Stats' PvP. Can he pull off an upset? Can he qualify for the closed qualifier? We are here to find out. Spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Alkione, we have our South Korean Protoss player. The blue Protoss representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the red Protoss representing himself. Currently teamless, deserving to be on a team. The ex-military Protoss, Stats. And if you are in the chat, predictions are open. Predictions are open for the next 2 minutes, so place your bets on who you believe will make it through and qualify. Predictions open. Who will make it through? Who will qualify for the closed qualifiers of StarsWar 11? Best of luck. Best of luck in said predictions. And again, I say Stats is ex-military, but technically all the top Protoss are ex-military. You know, Classic, Hero, they all finished their service. They're all back. They're at the top of their respective races. And I would place both Creator and Nightmare ahead of Stats. I would place Creator and Nightmare ahead of Stats, but that is also why I was very pleasantly surprised to see Stats knock Nightmare out. He knocked him out of the qualifier, so if Stats can knock down Nightmare, he can knock down Classic as well. Like, it is within his skill range to do so. But I would say that Classic is still favored as Stats is going for a proxy pylon. A fake proxy pylon. Okay, so it's going to be a 2-gate opener from Stats, 2-gate opener at a Classic. It is going to be a fake proxy from our red Protoss, and Classic, has he scouted? He has. Yep, he has a probe in the main base. He does confirm, hold up, your pylon is missing. Where could it be? It is very common to go for proxy proxy Stargate here on the right hand side, on the other side of these minerals. So Classic will most likely be checking that area, that location. But now he's checking the natural, trying to figure out where that pylon is and whether it's a fake or real proxy. Meanwhile, Classic's second pylon is in the main, so Stats, he knows that everything is as it should be and everything is looking normal. And no. As Classic, he did not check the right-hand side. He skirts around the edge of the map, skirts around the center, and he comes across the pylon. He's aware it's a fake pylon. Classic can now expand back at home freely. Meanwhile, Stats is going for a Stargate first. Okay, so with a Stargate opener, the goal here is not to go all in. We're expanding, of course. We are expanding. This is to harass. This should be for Oracle production, to get across the map to scout, and to get some probe damage. So a bit of a more aggressive opener out of Stats. Meanwhile, we have something more economic out of Classic, just going for his natural base, and this should lead into a Twilight Council, into Blink Stalkers. We could go for a Robo opener instead. We'll keep our eyes on Classic to see where he does take this. So we're soon to throw down our tech, and there it is. It is going to be the Twilight Council. So Blink is going to be on the way. Adepts, they get across the map for Classic, but they go caught out. Big catch there from Stats. Gets one Adept. The other does shade away. Stats trying to intercept. But again, killing one Adept is huge. It's already huge here for Stats. As 2 Adepts one-shot probes. 1 Adept, that doesn't do much of anything. Can scout. We see Classic rocking up with the rest of his Stalkers, going for the pylon. And with the help of his sentries, he should focus on that pylon and should get away. Yeah, without issue. Does manage to waddle away. Meanwhile, the Oracle likewise does move out as well. And we're going for a Twilight Council follow-up. So Stats is going for a delayed blink. Oracle is moving out. Classic, he does have a Stalker in position, and there we go. We do have a second Stalker on the way. No shield battery, so a little bit greedy here out of Classic. We'll see if he gets away with the greed or if he gets punished for the greed. Will he get punished for cutting corners? As Stats, it does dip in between the bases. Getting a couple of probes. Getting 2 probes here. Not too bad. The Oracle does manage to escape. I believe it was a single Oracle. Yeah, 1 Oracle opener at his stats. Didn't invest into a second. And we're rushing to a third base, which is scouted, by the way. Classic. Came in with the hallucination. He saw everything he needed to. He saw the Twilight Council. He saw the third base. He's aware that Stats is not going for any kind of 2-base all-in or 2-base play. So Classic can now freely take his own third. As never mind, he's pushing. Wait, how many gateways do we have? Okay. We have a third gateway finishing up here for Classic. He is pushing. He does have a proxy pylon. We're going for it. We're going to deny. The goal here is to deny the third base. To expand behind this, if at all possible. Yeah, probe is being sent out to expand. This is not an all-in, but committed. Is committed here for Classic. Throws out some force fields, gets a sentry. Ooh, will lose one of his own. Again, pushing up this ramp is brutal, and he just cannot do it. He has to back off. He can reinforce, though. There it is. More Stalkers on the way. We can warp in 3 at a time. Again, a brutal fight here. Pushing up a ramp into a concave. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen. Both players do have Blink. Stats, he rallies in. Bit of a miss rally there from Stats. From Classic. Classic bleeding out some of those Stalkers. Has to rotate around. Looking at the units tab here. Classic, he does have a Stalker lead. Barely. Warping in another 3. Stats, can we hold? He does have an overcharge available at the shield battery, at the third. Oh, we actually go straight for the natural. We avoid the third base. Oh, again, some rough movement there at a Classic. Dodges up the army. And he can focus on these Stalkers. Yeah, one after the other, they're going down. Boys are being pulled, and Stats, he will hold. He will hold on. Does survive. Behind this charge it's finishing up. We have a gateway explosion on the way as well. Classic just now getting his own third base up and running. Stats still maintains a worker lead. Not just a worker lead. +1 is going to finish as well. It's on the horizon. And charge is also on the way. So Stats, he has quite a big upgrade advantage. Charge is later for Classic. The third is later. +1 is later. Stats is 1 step ahead. This push from Classic, again, as I mentioned, was supposed to deny the third, or at least kill all the workers, and it didn't do much of anything. It traded with the army, and that just was not good enough. As now Stats, he's looking to snowball out of control. Oh boy. Yeah, the Prism is on the way. Now is the time to move out. Meanwhile, Classic, how do we recover? 4th base. We're going for a 4th base. We're going for a later gateway explosion. Templar Archives is on the way for Archon production. Immortals on the way. I like the Immortals. This is a good way to make up for a supply deficit, as Immortals can be very efficient against Stalkers. So we're making a handful of Immortals, bearing in mind that Stats does have a lot of Zealots to buffer for his army. They do amazingly tanking Immortal shots and Stalker shots. 4th base is on the way. Stats is pushing. The War Prism is coming in behind this. Stats, he should be able to reinforce. There we go. Big warp in of Stalkers. Zealots, they come in to reinforce as well. Speaking of, 5 Zealots at a time. They are coming in for Stats. And Stats, he has a massive supply lead. Now we can defend with the shield battery with an overcharge, with a good, with a good angle. Concave even. See here, we bait out the blink. We bait the blink. The Zealots, they dive on top of the Stalkers, and just like that, Stats is going to just break through, snowball out of control, collapse on the army, and clean up those Zealots. And Classic, he's up against the wall, bleeding out too much. Stats pulling back. Again, he retains most of his army. He can go for another big warp in. And Classic, he's in some trouble right now. You could see their Stats intentionally hiding those Zealots, waiting for the blink, baiting it out, and then collapsing on Classic. And we'll see if we can do it again. As we try to catch the Immortals, boys are being pulled. Oh, we trigger the overcharge. It is baited out. A little bit premature. from Classic. As we catch an Immortal. A very nice pick off. Immortal goes down. Zealots, they're flooding on in. There are Archons. The Archons will help. But they should be targeted down by these Stalkers. Yeah, we dive on top of them. We get one and the other. GG gets called. There's just too much damage, and Stats will take game number 1. Whew. GG. Very well played here by Stats. Again, nothing too fancy out of Stats. I mean, really, it was on Classic. Classic, he was the one being aggressive. He was the one trying to dictate the pace of the game. Classic was very much so in the face of Stats, and we saw that everything was being delayed in favor of the push. Like Classic, he invested so much into his push at the third base, and it didn't do any damage. It didn't do any damage to the third, to the economy. It traded with the army, and it wasn't a good trade either. And as soon as Stats held that push, he was ahead. He was miles ahead in so many different ways. And with that, GG, well played. Stats takes game 1. Can he take the series? That would be an insane upset, by the way. Again, Stats, he has been looking better and better. You know, we praised Stats a couple of days ago in ESL Asia. We did praise him. But here, taking down Nightmare 2-0, forcing Classic to the ace match. Like, this is all really good stuff. I'm still, like, tentative to say that he's, like, back on top, but like he's getting there, definitely. Like we cannot deny that. Stats, he has been leveling up. He has been getting better and better over the past month, over the past couple of weeks. And will that turn into a qualification? That's the real question. Here we go. I'm here for it. As spawning in the top left hand corner of Hardlead, we have the blue Protoss player representing Twisted Minds down in the series. Can he fight back? Can he bounce back? It is Classic. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent leading the series 1-0. He's teamless, by the way, but deserving to be on a team. The red Protoss from South Korea. It is Stats. Una más. One more is all he needs. One more is all he does need. But again, I do want to put a lot of weight on Classic basically in game 1. Again, Classic, he's the one that decided to go for a committed push on 2 bases. Did fumble the ball. So how will Classic adjust? How will he adapt here to Stats? For the time being, 2 gate openers. 2 gate openers from both Stats and Classic. Now, the problem here is that I feel like Classic thrives in aggression. I feel like that's typically how he does approach a lot of games and a lot of matchups. So I'm concerned if he does try to play more passively and defensively and macro against Stats. I mean, that's the forte of Stats. You know, that's what he wants. Classic is going towards the bottom left. Going to the bottom left, this is a good position for a proxy Stargate. Proxy Stargate would make sense. This could be a setup for a proxy Twilight Council, as the pylon has been thrown down on the other side of those steam vents. And is it just a fake proxy pylon? It looks like it is fake. Yeah, probe is moving out. Okay. So the probe scout of Stats does confirm, like, hold up, where's your pylon? Where is that pylon? It's not here. And he could overreact to a potential 1 base all in. Stats opening up with his second gateway, sorry, second pylon in the main. Again, did confirm that the pylon is not where it should be. And Classic should soon be coming in with his own scout. Does have his probe parked outside the natural base. Now, we saw that Stats did this against Classic in game 1. Remember, Stats, he was the one that went for the fake proxy pylon, and Classic saw it. Classic, he scouted it immediately and shut it down. So really good scouting from Classic in game 1. Here in game 2, Stats is going for a robo. He feels like it's a 1 base all in. So a robo, a very safe opener here out of Stats. Very safe. Adepts are moving out to try to get a scout off, and Stats is going to be expanding, or he's looking to expand here on the low ground. No, never mind. Throws down the third gateway. All right, let's go. So Stats, the Shield of Ire now to turn into the Sword of Ire as what, the Spear? The Spear of Adun? What's add in? We're going for 1 base all in. This is a one base all in out of Stats. We have a third gateway on the way. This robo is going to be for a Prism, for Immortal Production to get across the map. And the Hallucination does confirm. Big scout here by Classic. He confirms the one base all in. Classic knows he is expanding back at home, and we're responding with a robo. We react here with a robo. This is for Immortal Production. We cancel the Stargate, recognizing that we do not need it, recognizing that it would hurt us. So far, good responses here out of Classic, reading Stats quite well. Stats, as the Hallucination dies, we go for an expand. He's crazy. Okay. So Stats, he's pivoting away from the all-in. He's still committed. Like, this is still a big investment from Stats. But because he got scouted, he throws down the expansion. This expansion otherwise should not have been here. So both players are, again, being quite flexible with how they're playing. Now, because we've taken the Nexus, Stats doesn't have to break the natural of his opponent. Classic doesn't know that yet. Classic hasn't seen. Let's say shade in towards the main base. We don't commit. Immortals are amassing. Now, this is a double-edged sword. So Stats, he's going to be forcing Classic to make Immortals. Classic is going to be cranking out Immortal after Immortal. And after the defense, and Classic should defend, he will counterattack. And it's going to be quite a hefty counterattack as well. Stats, though, is still investing in his own Immortals as well, thankfully. So a very interesting dynamic. Prism zips in. We get a couple of probes. Adepts, they get 3 probes here at the natural. Oh! Almost getting a 4th. A good force fields out of Classic, though, shuts this down. Shuts down the Adepts. Prism does rotate back in towards the natural. Classic is in position. Stats good juggling. Gets a sentry. Ooh, sentry for a Stalker. Oh no, just a sentry. Stalker did survive, thankfully. I'm blind. Again, Classic, he will hold behind this. We have Blink on the way. More Immortals are amassing as well. We're going to be stabilizing and getting in towards 2-base play and towards the mid game. But this is a really interesting setup and really interesting dynamic, just because of the openers. So taking a moment here to get a read on what's going on as Hallucination Scouts are coming in as well. It is going to be a 3-gate setup here from Classic. He hasn't gone for a 4th gateway yet. Likewise, Stats also hasn't thrown down a 4th gateway either. So 2-base, 3-gate Blink for the time being. Immortals are moving out. This is a risky move out of Stats. He's moving out with an Immortal drop. Very, very expensive, very, yeah, a very risky move here from Stats. So he has to be careful. Does require some delicate micro. Bearing in mind that Blink is going to finish soon. That's what worries me the most. Blink is going to finish up faster here for Classic. Drop does come in. Classic going to trigger those shields. Ooh, we do pick off a sentry. Not bad. Sentry does go down. Blink finishing up in 10 seconds. And Stats is going to take a 3rd. Okay, so Stats takes the 3rd base. What does Classic do? He throws in a 4th. Throws in a 4th gateway. So Classic will have far more production available. This looks like a setup for a 2-base all-in. We'll see if we expand or if we push out. And it looks like Classic does want to push out. But that Prism is keeping him pinned. Hallucination does keep tabs on that drop. On that Prism. And again, so Classic, he does have the production lead here. He's ahead in gateways compared to Stats. Stats investing in the 3rd base, exposing himself out on the map. This is it. This is Classic's moment. To move out and catch out Stats. There he is. We dive on the army. Where are the Immortals? They're not here. They're not at home. Stats, he's caught with his pants down. Sentry's going to be going down. We have the overcharge. But he gets targeted. The Immortals, they are recalled. We focus on the Prism. We do have reinforcements coming in. Reinforcements, they do come in. And can Stats hold? He will. He gets 1 Immortal. There's 1 left. And Stats, he cleans up the Immortals. He shuts down the army. And Stats, he will hold. Very clutch recall. He was very quick there to recall that Prism back home. Came in with the Immortal. Stats, he cleans up the army. And now Stats is ahead. Classic still working on his 3rd base. He was so committed by throwing down that 4th gateway. And alas, he does not do enough damage. Very similar scenario to game 1. Where Classic commits on 2 bases, Stats defense is 3rd, and Stats is ahead. very similar to game number 1 here. Behind this, Charge is almost done. Remember, Charge just started for Classic. So Charge is almost done here for Stats. +1 is on the way. I believe Classic doesn't even have a Forge. So you have no Forge whatsoever, so no upgrades for Classic. Stats has a big window, a big timing. A big timing where he has an upgrade lead, and he's going to make use of it. Just like game 1. We got here in a different way, to be fair. We did get here in a different way. It was a much more dynamic start to the game. Ooh, meanwhile, Classic coming in first round. Yeah, Stats getting over 1 for a moment, but he comes in with reinforcements, forces Classic back. Immortals are amassing. Yeah, more Stalkers on the way. Stats with that supply lead because of his better economy. Yeah, now even throwing down a 4th. Oh my god. I don't think he even needs a 4th. As Stats, he doesn't want to engage. Not here. Not against the Immortal. Not into a Concave. So Stats is going to back off. Waiting for reinforcements. Again, we don't want an anti-timing. +1 now finishing for Stats. +1 is now done. Forge just starting for Classic. And again, Stats, I'm sure he wants a fight. He wants to engage, but he has to be careful. Again, he's looking for the army, doesn't see it. Isn't fully aware of where it is. Is aware of the general area, though. As Classic is pushing in towards that 3rd base. We have shield batteries, we have an overcharge. We have shield batteries available. 1 shield battery goes down, but we have 2 more behind this. Or 1 more behind it. So far, good blinks here out of Stats and Classic as well. Zealots are amassing, overcharge is forced. The Nex is taking a lot of hits. Oh, and it looks like we won't save it. The base does go down. But Stats, he has a 4th. He doesn't care. He can just transfer over towards a 4th base. Classic just now starting up his own. At the same time as Stats. Supplies are evening up. +2 is on the way. +2 is on the way for Stats. +1 just starting for Classic. Again, Stats being very careful with how he engaged. Waiting for some Archons. Archons on the way. Now, even though Stats had a window with +1, he will have a stronger window with +2. +2 is going to be another big timing here for Stats that he can go for. Classic did well focusing down that Nexus. Can he do even more as he's going for some Zealot harass? Let's go. There we go. Zealots, they get dropped into that 3rd. Prism gets forced out of the main base. And the Zealots won't be able to achieve too much here. They get 1 probe, 2 probes even. At the same time, main army pushing in towards a 4th. But again, that's a lot of army waiting for him. Ooh, Stats taking a rough fight, pushing down a ramp into a Concave. So Classic does trade better, goes for a big warp in here across the map as well. Probes are going down. We got 6 worker kills. Classic doing well, pulling Stats apart. I do like this against Classic. He is quite a fast player. And he is getting damage done. But the main army, that's the thing. Like, when it comes to a big fight, like Stats, he can still come in on top. Dives on the army. Shots are going off here on the Stalkers. Good juggling so far here by Classic. But the Immortal goes down. The Immortal falls, and with that, we should be able to break the entire army here of Classic. The Prism falls as well, and Stats, he's doing it. He's taking the series. He 2-0'd Nightmare earlier, and now he 2-0's Classic. GG, well played. Stats qualifies for the StarsWar 11 Korean Closed Qualifier. GG. Papi. GG, well played. Stats doesn't drop a map. He 2-0's Nightmare and he 2-0's Classic as well, showing that his PvP is on point and maybe working his opponents against themselves a little bit there because, again, I imagine Nightmare played similarly. Just winding it back a little bit here. Remember, in this series, Classic was very aggressive on 2 bases. Remember, intentionally, both in Game 1 and in Game 2, Classic, he delayed his 3rd. In Game 1, he delayed his 3rd and he went for a 3-gate push. In Game 2, he delayed his 3rd one for a 4-gate push as well. And Stats, he was just too strong defensively here. Like, Stats was not cutting too many corners. He was looking towards the mid game, that's true, with his third, but like he was still warping in stalkers, like he was still making sure he had shield batteries in position as well. Like, very solid defensive play out of Stats, and he punished the aggression of Classic. And I can definitely see that happening against Nightmare as well, because Nightmare is also an aggressive Protoss player. So yeah, Stats really showing off his defensive play here in PvP to great effect. GG, very well done, very well played here by Stats. He qualifies for the closed qualifier. Congratulations. My condolences to Classic. Some big names didn't make it through. Here we go, as we do switch our scenes over. Some big names did not qualify, as we have all of our qualified players tonight. We have Maru, Cure, Stats, and Hero. Again, Hero, he qualified like an hour ago. Like, he like speed ran his way through. But Hero made his way through. Maru did struggle. You can see in the matches here that Maru, he took down Creator and Shin, but it went to the ace match. And again, it just goes to show the quality of players and the caliber of play here in Korea and in these qualifiers. Like, even Maru dropped maps to his opponents. And those are players that are going to be here in a couple of days. Who didn't qualify? Who didn't make it through? Creator, Shin, Solar, Classic, Nightmare, Bjorn. We glossed over it, but again, remember, Classic eliminated Bjorn. And you know what? I'm sure Stats is very happy about that. I'm sure Stats is like, phew, thank God. Like, he's like, thank God I went up against Classic and not Bjorn. Clearly, Stats' PvP is looking on point. We haven't seen much of Stats' PvT, is what I will say. We casted Stats versus Oliveira during IEM Katowice. We did cast that, and Oliveira did win in the end, but it went to the ace match. Stats took a game of Oliveira, but it wasn't the cleanest of games. It was not the cleanest of games from Stats. So, yeah, I do think that Stats' PvT is maybe currently his weakest matchup. But he avoids the Terrans. He avoids Bjorn. You know, he thanks Classic for eliminating him. And that's another player that's going to be here tomorrow. Bjorn, Bunny's another big one. Ryung is another big one. Su, Lunacy, Gumiho, who also got knocked out in the first round. It's hard to pick and choose. And there's also players that didn't show up. Dark was not here. Now, I believe Dark should be available for this. I think Dark, because this next premiere event is happening in April, if I'm not mistaken. It's happening in April. I believe Dark should be able to travel for that, but I'm not sure. So we'll see. We'll see in a couple of days. We'll see if Dark shows up for the qualifiers in 2 days. If not, then that could be indicative of when Dark's military service is going to be. It's possible that if his military service is coming up sooner rather than later, then maybe that means that he won't be able to travel for StarsWar. I'm not uncertain when it comes to Dark's position there. So we'll find out in a couple of days. We'll wait and see. And for those that are curious, in 2 days' time, we're going to be here with the second Open Qualifier for the region of Korea, and that's going to be another 4 players. So 8 players in total. 4 from this qualifier, 4 from the other. They all make it into the closed qualifier. And that's going to be when exactly? Let me just double check. Closed qualifier is going to be March 26th at the end of the month. So basically the way this works is we're going through all the regional open qualifiers, and then we go through all the closed qualifiers. So it's going to be, you know, Korea, then Asia, Europe/America as well. We're going to go through all the open qualifiers, and then we go through all the closed qualifiers, and everything will be casted here on the CranKy Ducklings. We will also be casting the main events, as the main events will be taking place next month in April. So stay tuned for that. And yes, that is going to be the end here. A shorter broadcast today, but again, it's a shorter qualifier. Only 3 rounds and no lower bracket. So it's very brutal, very cutthroat, very quick qualifiers here for StarsWar. Catching up. The Shield of Ire is back. Being offensive against the Shield of Ire, RIP. I agree. Like, this is, like, I feel like Stats, he thrives in that kind of scenario. And he did. It's like, congratulations to all those that did have faith and bet on Stats in the chat. Very well done. Your faith was well placed. And with that, we're done for the night. So we are going to be wrapping up here for the night. Hope you all enjoyed yourselves. Hope you all had a great time. What do you guys think of Classic versus Bunny tomorrow? Oh, right, true. GSL matches are happening tomorrow. GSL is tomorrow. But regardless, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Our next broadcast is going to be in a couple of days. I did mention it, but our next broadcast is going to be on Friday. We actually don't have a broadcast scheduled for tomorrow. We might still have, I mean, I can cast, like, I have to squeeze in ESL Open Cup Americas at some point. I have to squeeze in the GSL group at some point, and there's other casts that I have up my sleeve. I think we got some OSC replays, so I can cast the OSC championships. So we could have a cast tomorrow, but most likely going to leave it open. I would typically be casting, but tomorrow we're going to have a day off. I'm going to, yeah, just, I need a day off. You need a day off. Nothing serious, but I'm going to the doctors tomorrow. Going to the doctors. Nothing serious, but I won't be available to cast, unfortunately. Otherwise, you know that I would, 100%. You know me. I'll cast all day. I'll cast all night. Unfortunately, I won't be available tomorrow. So it feels bad, man. Feels bad. But regardless, we'll be back in 2 days on Friday with the second Korean qualifier. So basically, I'm looking at our calendar here, and for the next couple of weeks, it's just non-stop StarsWar 11 qualifiers. Korea, then it's EU and America, then it's Asia, and then it's the closed qualifiers. So yeah, just a lot of qualifiers. A lot of StarsWar is in the coming weeks. So yeah, hope you enjoy. Hope you take care. Hope you look after yourselves, everyone. Hope you look after yourselves. And we'll see you guys in 2 days. Again, even though we won't be casting tomorrow, GSL's tomorrow. There you go. So you can tune into some GSL action. We got you. They got you covered with some StarCraft. They got you covered. So do check it out. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support. You can follow us on all the social medias. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Discord. Hablamos, tío light. Oh, papi. I want more StarCraft. No, you want more StarsWar. Thanks for the stream. Enjoy this. Yes, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy. You can follow us on all the social media. You can follow us on Patreon. ! Patreon in the chat. You can, of course, help us fund our tournaments. I don't know if you can see here, but our Patreon, our support on Patreon has dipped down a little bit. So we're not quite at that 200. But that's okay because Twitch money or subs from Twitch do kind of supplement that, and they allow us to still run our tournaments. But if you want us to continue Sparkling Tuna Cup, see Duckling Open and Massive Swan Open, and grow our events, then Patreon is the place to do it if you're interested. Again, like, viewing is enough. You know, our events won't stop by any means. Our events will keep on going. But if you want to support us further, then Patreon is the place to do it. Otherwise, thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the support. We'll see you guys in a couple of days. Until then, hasta luego. Ciao, papi, ciao. Hasta luego. Hasta luego. We'll raid someone.